So we're going to move on to our final topic of the night. I'm going to start with you here, Josh. Final topic of the night. Give me a guy, a fringe roster guy, who you see, a surprise guy who you see making the roster.
I got two of them.
Okay.
Chris Brooks over Wilson Jr.
Okay.
And Curtis Bolton over Tyndall. I know I spoke about it earlier, but
yeah,
I think Curtis Bolton's play at linebacker has been with the lens of what he is and where what he's done and everything so far this preseason and in training. It's been very surprising. It's been a breath of fresh air seeing him play, seeing him just all over the place like a bat out of hell, and it's been very refreshing to see a linebacker. And Chris Brooks, I think I don't know if we carry 4 running backs. I think between Raheem, Devon, Jalen Wright, who I'm very surprised none of us had mentioned, he has had a phenomenal preseason so far. And Alec Ingold, I'm not necessarily sure if Chris Brooks even makes this team. I personally, on my 53, have him making the team over Wilson Jr. Due to injuries. I think we need to carry an additional running back given Raheem and Devon's propensity for injury. But he's been good too.
I like the Chris Brooks pick. I like Chris Brooks. I actually went in the opposite direction from you, Josh. I have Jeff Wilson making this team over Chris Brooks.
Oh, blasphemous. Get out. No,
I do. I know. I hear you, man.
But why? What is your reasoning?
Because Jeff Wilson has been in this offense for a long time. Under Kyle Shanahan and now under Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has shown that he likes himself from Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, but I guess my rebuttal to that would be, then why hasn't he done more?
Well, because he's behind Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane.
Yeah.
When Jeff Wilson's gotten the opportunity to play, he's shown, he's not gonna, you're not gonna get big gash plays out of a Jeff Wilson like you would out of Raheem Mostert or Devon Achane. What you're gonna get is confidence. You're gonna get a sure-footed, sure-handed ball carrier who's gonna hit the hole and do things right. And the only way I see Chris Brooks making this roster over Jeff Wilson is if the Dolphins decide we want that element of power in our backfield. We want that bigger, stronger back, rather than Jeff Wilson, who does nothing spectacularly but doesn't do anything badly either. And that's kind of how I see it going. I thought Jeff Wilson wasn't going to make the team last year. And then coming out of camp, Mike McDaniel had him making the team. I think we have to take into account the fact that Mike McDaniel likes Jeff Wilson and trusts Jeff Wilson. And I think that's something that we have to really it's just something we really have to look at here. And I like Chris Brooks. This isn't a knock on Chris Brooks, but I think Jeff Wilson gets the slight edge over him. The guy who I have making the team, who's a roster bubble kind of guy, is Storm Duck, who's a guy that, we haven't really talked about a lot in this show thus far, but he's played some good football, and he's got some swag out there as a cornerback, and you want that out of your cornerback. You want your quarterback to have a little bit of swag, a little bit of confidence, and Storm Duck certainly has that, in addition to having the best name in the NFL.
Best name. I'm buying a Duck jersey if he makes it, bro. We're going.
So Anthony, who do you a roster bubble guy?
Yeah, I really hope. So by the way, I just want to talk about Duck a little bit because I was watching his highlight reel, and sometimes you can just tell when a guy looks good. He just looks so smooth out there. He never looks like he's lost or scared or he looks smooth. I hope he makes the team, man. I know that they're getting rated based on way more categories than any of us are looking at, but I hope he kind of makes the team there. Hand it off to me. Sheesh. Jalen Wright's not a roster bubble guy, right?
No.
Jalen Wright's gonna make it. Listen, in our chat, I talked about Braylon Sanders, and I actually don't think Braylon Sanders is going to make the team, and that's kind of sad. And I don't want to just stick with wide receiver, so I'll mention this guy quickly. I actually do think River makes the team. I think River Craycraft has shown enough. He's proven a lot. I was rewatching the game against Baltimore 2 years ago where we came back against them in week 2. We were down 21 points and we came back and won that game against Lamar. River was a huge part of that. I think River makes it. For surprises who I think might not make it, though, I hate to say it, I just don't think Eric Ezukama is making this team, man. I
You're breaking
know
my heart, Anthony.
I know he was highlighted in the second preseason game, but you don't usually want to be the guy highlighted in a preseason game because that means you're on the bubble, right? They are trying to see how you respond. And he responded well. I'll give it to him. He did respond well. He had a good game, but we have a lot of wide receiver talent. And especially if Odell is going to be ready for week 1, I don't see, like, I think they keep Barrios and Craycraft over Ezukama. And I know that,
So,
like,
Anthony,
we all like. Sorry, go ahead.
What if I told you the Craycraft's going to be out for the first few weeks?
He is, but if let's say put him on the PUP, that's still a roster spot, right? I mean, yeah. I think, well, that's what. So if Ezukama makes it through Kutch, right, and doesn't get picked up, I could see them then putting Craycraft on the PUP so that he only goes out 4 weeks or whatever it is. Because I think if they put him on now, they're out for the season, right?
No, not
it's
necessarily.
Like some sort of new rule or something. Like
they get 4 guys they can bring off. They can put on the PUP and then bring them back off. I think that's 4 guys that they can do that with throughout the season.
You know what Ezukama reminds me of? I don't know if you guys saw the comments from Dennis Allen. I know a different team. It's the Saints. But on their running back, Kendre Miller, and being asked constantly about, like, when are we going to see more Kendre? And Dennis Allen responded with, like, the most truthful, brutal coach answer in the world. He's like, yeah, he's got a lot of talent, but I haven't seen him pick up the playbook. So unless he can get his head around this playbook, then you're not going to see more Kendre Miller. And I just feel like that has to be the case with Ezukama. I'm pretty sure this is year 3 in this system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you haven't gotten on that field by now, last year we lost Jalen and Tyreek for a little bit, right? We lose River and Barrios every year because they just seem to be made of glass. Like, if you haven't gotten on that field yet, I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think Eazy-E, sadly, best nickname ever, is getting the cut. Yeah. Fair
enough. All right, I'm going to move on to you. I actually have Ezukama making the team, by the way, Anthony. I have
Ezukama. Who you cutting? Who you cutting?
Well, I'm not cutting Craycraft, but I think the Craycraft injury it was beneficial to Eazy-E's chance of making the roster.
So, okay, that is true. How many wide receivers are we keeping, though?
So I have, as my wide receivers, I have Tyreek Waddle, Malik Washington, then I have Eazy-E and Barrios. So I have the Dolphins carrying 5 wide receivers.
All right, and then Craycraft's going on. Is he getting cut? Or is he going on?
I think Craycraft's going on the PUP.
On the PUP. That makes sense. I could see that.
You know, and I think that's Eazy-E's. That's his saving grace here.
Would you agree it's between Eazy-E and Braylon Sanders for that last spot?
I would say it is, but I don't think Braylon Sanders makes the team.
He hasn't been doing well. I mean, I like Braylon Sanders, but he hasn't. Yeah. Sadly.
I think what Eric Ezukama showed in that last preseason game is how explosive of an athlete he is, and if he's healthy, how impactful he can be for the Dolphins offense. And you know that, and I told you the wide receivers I have the Dolphins keeping, and that's not even mentioning Odell Beckham Jr., who none of us know if he's going to be on the roster on the PUP going into the season. I'd like some clarity on that going forward, but I just don't have any of that. And they asked Mike McDaniel, and Mike McDaniel kind of gave a word salad, evasive non-answer. You know, that's kind of what he gave, and it sucks because I don't know what to. I don't know, because if Odell Beckham Jr. makes this roster, I think Eric Ezukama doesn't. And Eric Ezukama has been out there doing the work all off season. Coming back from a neck injury, coming back from an injury at the beginning of training camp. And Odell Beckham, I know he's been working. I know he's been in on meetings and everything, but I don't want to hear word salad. I want to hear what's going on with Odell Beckham. Steve alluded to it earlier. With Odell Beckham, you know, I want I want clarity on this whole
Yeah.
situation.
So to point it out, our 4 guys on PUP right now are Odell Beckham, Isaiah Wynn, he ain't going anywhere, Cameron Good, who I could see getting cut,
Yeah.
and Bradley Chubb, who also isn't going anywhere. So that really only leaves 1 PUP spot open, assuming they cut Good, which is probably going to potentially be River, and that's a great point. So we see teams do that every year around cut time. You'll start seeing all of a sudden IR and PUP starts filling up.
Yep.
So he could make it based on that. But I think if everything were said and done, everybody were healthy, I think he would not make the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve.
If I were in
man.
charge, I think I would get a little creative here. Now, I am not huge on Quentin Bell for 2 reasons. 3rd year, 3rd team, hardly any tackles. He's an outside linebacker. We could probably get rid of him and keep my boy Channing Tindall. Let him just do what he does best and attack the quarterback. We don't need him in middle linebacker playing a little zone pass defense. We don't need him spying a quarterback. I want this man rushing the ball or getting after the running back, the quarterback. That's what I want out of this guy. I think he can be a player that, we still have hope for. And I think Quentin Bell can, kick some rocks, if you ask me. Just haven't really heard much of the guy, and I'm sure you guys haven't either because the man's got 2 total tackles in 3 years.
Well, he's been a practice squad guy. He's been bouncing around, but he was a guy that earlier on in training camp that they were saying he's looking great, and that was so hopeful, if for no other reason than Jalen Phillips was out and Bradley Chubb was out, and there was kind of a vacuum at the outside linebacker position. And as Shaq Barrett retires, and Emmanuel Ogbah comes back from the dead, and we need outside linebackers. And Quentin Bell kind of felt like a guy who could sneak into this roster.
We know Channing Tindall is a downhill linebacker. Like we're aware that he's a run-stopping linebacker. So why not give him a shot on the outside? Just let him just use all his energy and put it right through that tackle and see if he can't put a tackle on his butt, open up a hole for some more defensive players to get in there and stuff a run or force a quick pass.
Funny enough, I was thinking about linebackers before I went back to receiver for like the 3rd time this episode because I apparently love receivers so much. But I would much rather give Tindall and Bolton a chance than keep Duke Riley again.
Exactly.
And watch him continue to get burnt.
I was going to say Duke Riley and Anthony Walker Jr., but if I'm being realistic with myself, it is Quentin Bell. He doesn't have a whole lot to show. I'm sure he must have been great in college, but I don't have a whole lot on him. And I've seen Duke Riley. He's come up big in some spots, and he's really kind of let me down in others, and Anthony Walker Jr., I believe he's coming. I mean, I can click on it and look, but I believe he's coming from Cleveland.
Yes.
Am I correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't watch a whole lot of Browns football. I'm sure they don't even watch a whole lot of Browns football over in Cleveland, but I'm assuming if you're playing linebacker for the Browns, you can stop you're pretty good because you're on the field all the time. So give him his shot, but I would love to see us keep Channing Tindall.
I think I'd like to see us keep Channing Tindall. I don't know that's going to happen. And I actually have Duke Riley making this team.
Yeah.
Because he's great on special teams.
Yep.
And that's kind of been his calling card throughout his career.
He's been there. He kind of has the system down. If somebody goes down, he's an easy plug and play kind. I wouldn't say anywhere, but he's an easy plug and play if you need him.
Oh, well, trust me, he frustrated the hell out of me last season when Jerome Baker
running backs, dude.
When Jerome Baker went down, I was screaming at the TV. There was a series against the Ravens. There was 3 plays where Justice Hill ran a wheel route out of the backfield, and Duke Riley took the same wrong angle on all 3 of those plays, and it was like
we watched it together.
Yeah, we did.
I remember that game. I mean, you can't miss him because he's out there with like the blonde hair streaking out the back of his head.
Yeah.
He's constantly
fun. He's fun. I like that about him. He's definitely fun, but
But him covering a running back one-on-one down the sideline is not what you want to see as a Dolphins fan.
Well, and that's why I don't. That's another reason why I don't like the 3-4 because you have too many linebackers out there. At that rate, he has to cover. Who else is who? What do you want, David Long to cover? You know.
I don't think he'll be out there in his 3. I think it's going to be Long and Jordan Brooks.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, but in a coverage situation, like all right, I've seen him cover enough that I don't want him covering anyway.
I don't want him. I don't want to see him anymore. I just don't.
No.
Give me the guy who I won't even notice he's out there and Channing Tindall over the
Yeah.
guy like over Dude Riley.
Yeah.